Namaste and good evening all the SE students. I'm Ghangadhar Hada from Hada School. Now we all are in the lockdown due to the worldwide catastrophic and pandemic novel COVID-19 coronavirus. So this virtual class is specially organized for Bhaktapur Municipality in order to assist the SE students by making them revise their courses for the upcoming SE examination. Dear students, I welcome you all to today's English class. Today we are going to revise our grammar item. According to the specification grid prepared by CDC, we are asked two types of grammar questions. Type 1 is reproduction of sentences and type 2 is contextual passages. Under the type 1 grammar, we are now talking about transformation of sentences. Let's start the class. Transformation of sentences. Dear students, under this topic, what is our job, and we have to know this. Let's go through the meaning of transformations and what activities do we under this topic. Transformation of sentences means changing sentences from one form to another form. There are various forms of changing sentences. According to the SE specification grid, we have to learn to change the sentences only as shown below. A. Changing affirmative or positive sentences into negative and vice versa. It means and from negative to affirmative. B. Changing assertive sentences into interrogative, yes/no question or WS question, and vice versa. And we have to change the yes/no question into assertive sentence. Now, what is an affirmative statement? What is a negative statement? And what are the negative words? And we should have knowledge about these terms. Let's go through from affirmative statement. It is a positive statement. It means to say yes or to agree or accept something. Now the negative statement. Negative statement means to say no or to deny or reject the things. To write a statement in negative, we must add some negative words in the statement. And what are these negative words? Let's go through this. The negative words are not, no, none, never, seldom, hardly, rarely, etc. Any one of these words is used in a negative statement. Now the yes/no question. Yes/no question is a very short question. Its answer limits in yes or no only. So it is called yes/no question. Dear students, let's start from some examples of sentences changing into negative and yes/no questions. Then, we will discuss the procedures or the ways how to change them into negative and yes/no question. Anu will buy a new computer, and it's a statement. Now we have to change this statement into negative and yes/no question. Okay, let's see first and what is negative. Its negative is Anu will not buy a new computer. And what's his question? And his yes/no question is, will Anu buy a new computer? And what changes I have done here? Be careful about this. Now, when we change a sentence into negative, in this example, now Anu will buy a new computer, and so not is added next to will, or between will and by. And what is will here? And in S-no question, that will is placed before the subject. Will Anu buy a new computer? And what have I done here? I think you have understood this. And not is added next to will, and will is auxiliary verb. So, and not is added next to auxiliary to make a statement into negative, and the will is placed before the subset to make the assertive statement into yes/no question. Okay, let's take another example. The example is we can read English. Here also, my dear students, we have an auxiliary verb here. What is the auxiliary here? Can. Okay, and you can guess, and what is negative? And its negative is we cannot read English. And not is supplied here next to can because can is an auxiliary verb. And can you guess? And what is yes/no question? And its yes/no question is can we read English? And can is placed before subject. Can auxiliary verb is placed before the subject we, and it means to make a yes/no question, auxiliary verb is placed before the subject. I mean, the question begins with auxiliary verb, and in negative and not is placed next to the auxiliary verb. Okay, let's take another example again. Here, dear students, this example is a little bit different from the previous two examples. What is the difference here? Have you found out? The sentence is Pemba will have finished the task. Here we have will have finished. And here we have two auxiliary verbs, will and have. This is in future perfect tense. And what is negative? Where do we place not? Where do we add not to make this sentence negative? And which auxiliary do we place before the subject to make yes/no question? Okay, let's see the example. Pemba will not have finished the task. And now this means not is I have added not next to the first auxiliary. I mean between the two auxiliaries will and have. And now you can say, and what is negative? Okay, let's see. And his yes/no question is, will Pemba have finished the task? Yes, I think, and your guess might have been correct. The first auxiliary, will, is placed before the subject to make the sentence questions. And from these examples, and we can extract the structure of negative and yes/no questions. And that is the most important and the most common structure of negative and yes/no question. The negative is subject plus auxiliary verb, and not is added next to auxiliary, then comes main verb. Our yes/no question begins with an auxiliary verb and then subject, and it is followed by a verb. Question mark is used at the end of the sentence. Dear students, let's take a little bit different type of sentence as an example. The structure 2, if we have more than one auxiliary, or if we have two auxiliaries in a given sentence, not is added next to the first auxiliary. Or it means not is added between the two auxiliaries. Let's move to another example. And to change an assertive sentence into yes/no question, and the first auxiliary is placed before the subject, or the sentence begins with the first auxiliary verb. So here, and not is added next to auxiliary verb to make a sentence negative, and auxiliary verb is placed before the subject to make a sentence in yes/no question. So I want to remind you the auxiliary verbs once again. Look at the auxiliary verbs. There are 4 different kinds of auxiliary verbs, and the first one is be verb. And the be verbs are is, am, are, was, and were. Is, am, are the present form of the be verbs, and was and were are the past form. The second category is have verb, and have verbs are have, has, and had. Have and has are the present forms of the have verb, and has is the past form. The third category is do verb. The do verbs are do, does, and did. Do and does are the present forms of do verb, and did is the past form. The other category is modal auxiliaries. They are will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, must, need, ought, dare, and used to. Now, example type 2. The statement is Sujan drives the car, and what is negative? And its negative is Sujan does not drive a car. And its question is does Sujan drive a car? Dear students, this example is quite different from the examples given in type 1, because in this sentence we don't have an auxiliary verb, and if there is no auxiliary verb we have to go through the main verb, and main verb is drives here. Drives is simple present, it's singular, and it's the V5 form. If there is no auxiliary verb in the given statement, we should take help of do verb. Now drives is V5, and so we take the V5 form of do verb, that is does. So its negative is Sujan does not drive a car, and its question is again, and we use does here, does Susan drive a car? Let's take another similar example. The statement is boys play games. Now here again we don't have auxiliary verb. The main verb is play, that is V1, and simple present, and this is plural. And so this is V1, so we take help of do verb do, and do is V1 form. So its negative is boys do not play games, and so not is used with auxiliary do here, and boys do not play games, and its question is do boys play games? Okay, let's take another example. Suman bought a new book. Also we don't have auxiliary verb in the given statement, and the main verb is bought here. Bought is simple past, and this is V2. When the verb is in V2 form, we take the help of did, and so its negative is Suman did not buy a new book. Now here, and we should remember one thing is that after the use of do verb, the main verb must be in V1, and here did is V2, and then bought becomes buy, and after the use of the do verb, the main verb must be in V1, or that is do verb is always followed by V1 form. Okay, let's go to it, and its yes no question is did Suman buy a new book? And now the auxiliary verb did is placed before Suman, and bought is changed into buy into V1 form. Now from these examples we can extract another sentence structure, and the structure 3 is subject plus do, does, did plus not plus V1 is the negative structure, and its yes no question is do, does, did plus subject plus V1. Now, example type 3. The statement is she has given me some mangoes. And before changing a sentence into negative and yes no question, the students, first you must be sure whether auxiliary verb is given in the sentence or not. First you must be sure about the use of auxiliary verb in the given statement. And if there is an auxiliary verb not is added next to auxiliary. In this sentence, she has given me some mangoes. Has given is the verb and has is an auxiliary verb. So, not is added next to auxiliary as in the previous examples. And its negative is she has not given me any mangoes. One additional thing is done here. And what is that? Some is changed into any here. Okay, let's see in the question. And has he given me any mangoes? And so some is changed into any in the case of yes no question also. Okay, let's take another example. Our school will help us with some books. And here also we have auxiliary verb, that is will. And we add not next to auxiliary verb will, and its negative is our school will not help us with any books. Now again here some books is changed into any books, and its question is will our school help us with any books? And again some is changed into any, and will is used before the subject. Dear students, now here and some means an amount of or a number of. Some is used be for uncountable nouns or be for countable nouns plural. And some is changed into any in both cases, negative and yes no question. This is example type 4. The statement is mom has already set meal. And the students make sure do we have auxiliary verb or not here? Yes, we have auxiliary, that is has. And we add not next to has to make it negative. And this has is placed before the subject mom to make yes no question. Now let's see its negative. Mom has not set meal yet. And here again and one more thing has been done here. And what is done here? So already is changed into yet. So mom has not set meal yet. And now its question is has mom set meal yet? Now again in the yes no question also already is changed into yet. And yet is used at the end of the sentence. Let's take another similar example. The statement is you have already learned it. Dear students, do we have auxiliary verb here? Yes, that is have. And we use not next to have to make it negative. And again we have already here, and this already is changed into yet. Let's see the negative statement. You haven't learned it yet. So not is used next to have auxiliary and already is changed into yet. In the same way, the yes no question is have you learned it yet? And have auxiliary is placed before the subject and already is changed into yet. Now one more example again. They have just arrived at the airport. Now here we have another word just in the place of already. And how is it stated? Let's see. Its negative is they have not arrived at the airport yet. Not is used next to the auxiliary verb have, and just is also changed into yet. And what's this yes no question? Its yes no question is have they arrived at the airport yet? Again, have the auxiliary verb is used before the subject they, and just is changed into yet. Dear students, now already and just are changed into yet in both cases, negative and yes no question. Now, example type 5. The statement is he is lazy, he is stupid too. And this means he is lazy and he is stupid also. He is lazy as well as stupid, it means. And so he has one more additional feature. And he is not only lazy but also stupid. And how to change these sentences into negative? Let's see the negative sentence. He is not lazy, and it's the simple one, and just we have used not next to is. And again another sentence, he is not stupid either, and not is used next to auxiliary verb is, and to is changed into either. Let's take another example. He is practicing mathematics too. And again, to is used here. Do we have the auxiliary verb here? Yes, that is. And its negative is she is not practicing mathematics either. Not is used next to auxiliary verb and to is changed into either. But this to is not generally changed into either in the case of yes no question. Let's see. Is she practicing mathematics too? And here, auxiliary verb is used before the subject she and to that is not changed into either in yes no question. Okay, let's take another example again. Deepak is going to the library and me too. And here again we have to, and its negative is Deepak is not going to the library. Deepak is not going to the library and me either. And not is used next to is and to is changed into either. And the next example again, the statement is Rima can come too. And its negative is Rima cannot come either. Not is added next to the auxiliary verb can and to is changed into either. And its question is again, can Rima come too? To is not changed in the case of yes no question. And here again, can auxiliary verb is used before the subject. Once again, and about the use of to, when to means also or as well, it is turned into either in negative statements. But no change is done in the case of yes-no questions. Now, example type 6. The statement is, she is either Indian or Bengali. She is either Indian or Bengali. The negative sentence is, she is neither Indian nor Bengali. And now it's a quite different example from the previous examples. Now here the words are changed, so either becomes neither or becomes nor. And neither nor is a complete negative to a complete negative of either or. And so either or is changed into neither nor in negative. And okay, let's take another example. Either I or your mom comes to receive you. And what's its negative? I think you have known it. And the negative is neither I nor your mom comes to receive you. This means, I want to remind you once again, either or is changed into neither nor in negative sentences. This is example type 7. The statement is, he bought some vegetables and so do I. And what's its negative? And do we have auxiliary verb here or not? We don't have auxiliary verb here. What's the main verb? The main verb is bought. This is we do. And this means and we use did as the auxiliary verb. And let's see its negative. He did not buy. Bought becomes buy here. He did not buy any vegetables. And neither did I. And now here the so is changed into neither. And let's take another example. Shreya has passed the exam and so have you. र त्यस्तै गरी तिमी पनि भयो. And its negative is Shreya has not passed the exam and neither you have. न त तिमी नै भयो. And so this so do I, त्यस्तै गरी is used to express that one feels the same way. And we use so do I to express agreement with positive statements. And now here I bought some vegetables. This is positive and his positive agreement is and so did I. And Shreya has passed the exam. This is a positive expression and its agreement is and so have you. And we should have the positive agreement here. And the negative expression is he did not buy any vegetables. And its agreement should be a negative, that is, and neither did I. Now in the next example, second example, Shreya has not passed the exam. This is a negative expression and its agreement with negative statement is and neither have you, not the तिमी नै भयो. Now, example type 8. The statement is we always attend the school. And do we have auxiliary verb here? No. And what is the main verb? Always? No. Always is the main verb. Always is the time adverb here. And attend is the main verb. And this is in B1 form. And do we use do verb to make this sentence negative? Okay, let's see it's negative. Its negative is we never attend the school. Now here always is changed into never. Never is negative word, and so we do not use not again, and it's a complete negative. And what's his question? His question is do we always or do we ever attend the school? And here to make a yes no question we use do verb again. So do is used here, attend is V1, so do is used here. And do we always or ever attend the school? Always is changed into never in the negative, and always can be changed into ever in question. Or if we don't change always into ever, or we leave always again always in the question, that's also correct. Next example. Pramod sometimes comes to see her. And now here again and we have a little bit different example or different words is used here, that is sometimes in the place of always. Pramod sometimes comes to see her, and what is negative? Pramod never comes to see her. And again sometimes is also changed into never in negative. And now here the comes is V5 form, and again and we take the help of do verb, that is does. And does Pramod sometimes or ever come to see her. And does is used before the subject because the main verb comes is V5. And sometimes is left sometimes in the yes no question, or it can be changed into ever. And what can be done here? Let's take one more example. The negative statement is I have never come to you. And now this is already negative. And if we have given this statement to change this into yes no question, and what this yes no question will be? And here we have auxiliary verb have. This auxiliary verb is used before the subject. We have already known it. But what to be done with never? And now here, have I ever come to you? And now this never is changed into ever. And this from these examples, and we can come to conclusion about always, sometimes, ever and never like this. Always and sometimes are changed into never in negative. Never is negative word, so we do not add not. So we do not use not again here. Sometimes and never had changed into ever in yes no questions. Now, the next example type 9. The statement is, on it often listens to folk music. Now here again we have the new word often. Let's see what is negative. On it seldom listens to folk music. Often is changed into seldom. It's a negative word. And its yes no question is, does on it often or ever listens to folk music? And it means we can change often into ever or no change. And does is used before the subject to make the sentence in yes no question. Let's take another example again. The statement is girls usually complete their homework. Here again we have another new time adverbial usually. And what is negative? Its negative is girls rarely complete their homework. Now usually is changed into rarely. And its yes no question is, do girls usually, or usually is no chance, or usually can be changed into ever. And do is used before the subject. So do girls usually or do girls ever complete their homework? And now here, the students, and we have used often, usually, frequently, generally, and mostly as the time adverbials of habitual actions. And how do we treat them in negative and yes no question? Now we can come to conclusion that often becomes seldom in negative, whereas usually, frequently, generally, mostly, etc. are changed into rarely or hardly in negative. And in the case of yes no question, these time adverbials often, usually, frequently, generally, mostly, etc. are changed into ever or no change is done. Now, the next example, type 10. The statement is, someone stole my purse. And now here we have a little bit different here again. And do we have auxiliary verb here? No. What's the main verb? The main verb is stole here. Okay, let's see what is negative. Someone stole my purse. Its negative is no one stole my purse. And its question is, did anyone steal my purse? And did is used here because the main verb stole is in the past tense. This is in the simple past. So did is used here. And someone is changed into anyone. And the steal is V1 of stole. After the use of do verb, now here did always comes V1. And do verb is always followed by V1. Did anyone steal my purse? And in this example, we have to know that someone is changed into no one in negative and someone is changed into anyone in question. These are the new things here in this type of example. Let's take similar type of example again. Everyone is ready to move ahead. And now again, everyone is changed into no one. So no one is ready to move ahead is negative. And his question is again, is anyone ready to move ahead? So is actually is used before the subject anyone. And here again, everyone is changed into no one in negative. And everyone is changed into anyone in the question. So we can come to conclusion about the use of someone or somebody or everyone or everybody or anyone, anybody about this, and the some, every, any plus noun as the subject or the object in the sentence. When this some, every, any plus noun, this noun phrase is used as the subject in the sentence or object in the sentence, and this some, every, or any can be changed into no and plus noun in negative sentence. Similarly, in yes no question, some, every, any plus noun, yes, is used as the subject in the sentence. It becomes any plus noun in yes no question. Similarly, some or every or any plus noun as the subject in the sentence becomes any plus noun in yes no question. Now, example type 11. The statement is, some of my friends have joined the bridge course. Now, it's a little bit different again. And do we have auxiliary verb here? Yes, we have auxiliary, have. And what is negative? Let's see. None of my friends have joined the bridge course. Now here, some is changed into none, not no. And the structure of noun phrase is a little different from the previous type of example. So its negative is none of my friends have joined the race course. None is negative itself, so not is not added next to auxiliary have here. Okay, what's this yes no question? Its yes no question is, have any of my friends joined the race course? The auxiliary verb have is used before the subject, any of my friends. The some of my friends, the some is changed into any, and this is any of my friends, and this any is not the negative word and the question word. Let's take another similar example. Any of you can stay here. What's its negative? Now you can do it yourself. Its negative is none of you can stay here, and any is changed into none here again. Now we have the structure of noun phrase is same. That is any one of you, any plus one of you. And its yes no question is, can any one of you stay here? Can any one of you stay here? And can is the auxiliary verb, and so this is placed before the subject, and can any one of you stay here? Let's take one more similar example. All of the students went home, and now in the place of some or any, and this time all is given here, and all of the students went home, and we don't have auxiliary verb here. The main verb is when, that is V2, that is simple past. And what's its negative? Its negative is again none of the students went home. All is also changed into none. This means, and in the sentence and in the examples, we have used some, any, and all. And all these words have been changed into none in the negative. And his question is, did all of the students go home? And went is V2, and so the past form of do or did is used, and then when becomes go in B1 form. Now from this example, and we can say that some, every, each, any, or anyone, or all plus of plus noun in the subject of a sentence, and this some or every or each or any or anyone or all plus of plus noun, and is changed into none plus of plus noun. This means some is changed into none, every is changed into none, each is changed into none, any is changed into none, and anyone is changed into none, and all is changed into none, and then of plus noun in negative. Students, let's move to next example, type 12. The statement is, Binu is as tall as her father. This is the statement. It's a positive statement. Now we have to make this negative. The negative is, Binu is not so tall as her father. Now here we have is as the auxiliary verb, and the not is used next to is. But one more thing is done here. As tall as is changed into so tall as. And now we can read like this. Binu is not so tall as her father. And his question is Binu as tall as her father? Now in the yes no question, this as tall as is not changed, as tall as again. And now here, so as tall as, and so this is changed into not so tall as, and it's a comparison of adjective. And we can say the structure like this. In comparison, as plus adjective plus as, it becomes not so plus adjective plus as in negative. The students, we have taken some examples, and in the examples, and we changed some words there. And so in a summary, you can develop the following table to see how the words all the time adverbials are changed while changing the statement into negative and yes no question. The table goes here. Word or time adverbs, and it's negative and yes no question. Now the first, some is changed into any in negative, and it is changed into any in yes no question. Already and just are changed into yes, both in negative and question. Do is changed into either in negative, but it is not changed in yes no question. Either or is changed into neither nor in negative, and is a negative word, and nothing is done in the case of yes no question. And so it changed into and neither or nor can also be used, and it is negative word itself, and nothing is done in yes no question. Always is changed into never in negative. Never is a negative word, and it always is not changed in yes no question, or it can be changed into ever. Sometimes it changed into never in negative and ever in yes no question. Frequently, usually, generally, mostly, etc. are changed into rarely or hardly in negative. Rarely and hardly are the negative words. And these words, this time adverbials, are not changed, or they are changed into ever. And the next, some, every, or any plus noun becomes no plus noun. It means some or every or any is changed into no if these words are followed by noun. And some or every or any is changed into any in the yes no question. Again, some, every, some or every or each or any or anyone or all plus of plus noun is changed into non plus of plus noun in negative, and some, every, is, any, anyone, all, all these are changed into any in yes no question. So any plus of plus noun. In the comparison, and we have the structure as plus adjective plus as, it is changed into not so plus adjective plus as, and nothing is done in yes no questions. Example type 13. The affirmative statement is he has a new car. Now here has, and is this an auxiliary or not? No, this time has is not used as the auxiliary verb, and it's a main verb here. And now has its one meaning, and the meaning of has is possession. Let's see its negative. He does not have a new car, and does is used here to make it negative. So has is singular, has is simple present and singular. So we use do verb here, and its negative is does not have. Its negative is he does not have a new car, and has is changed into does not have. After the use of do verb, the main verb is changed into V1, that is have. Its yes no question is does he have a new car? And again, does is used before the subject. Does he have a new car? Okay, next example. She had a letter from her uncle this morning. Now here again had. And is this an auxiliary? No. And this is the main verb again. And this had means received. She received a letter from her uncle this morning. It means, and so had is simple past. Its negative is she did not have a letter from her uncle this morning, and had it changed into did not have. Had is V2, and so did is used, and after the use of did, the main verb had it changed into V1, that is have. And its question is, did she have a letter from her uncle this morning? And now here, auxiliary did is used before the subject she, and had it changed into V1, that is have. And did she have a letter from her uncle this morning? And let's take another example. I have an egg at breakfast. And now here, have means eat. Have is the main verb. Have is not the auxiliary verb here. So we have to take help of do verb again. And its negative is I do not have an egg at breakfast. And its question is, do I have an egg at breakfast? And do verb is used before the subject, and have is B1 itself. And the next example is he did it himself, and did is the main verb here. This is not the auxiliary here. And so we take help of do verb again, and its negative is he did not do it himself. And after the use of did, and the main verb did is changed into do there. And its question is, did he do it himself? And again, so did is used before the subject to make yes no question. And it means, and when have and do verbs are used as the main verb in the sentence, take help of do verb as the auxiliary verb to make them negative and questions. Dear students, when have and do verbs are used as the main verb in the sentence, take help of do verb as the auxiliary verbs to change the sentences into negative and yes no question. Now, example type 14. The statement is we have to revise the book. And here, do we have auxiliary verb in the sentence? Have is not auxiliary here again. Negative is we do not have to revise the book, and this have is used as the obligation here, and the structure is have to plus V1. When this have is used in this structure have to plus V1, do verb is used to make it in negative and yes no question. Let's see the yes no question. Do we have to revise the book? Let's take another example. She has to attend the meeting. Has to attend is also, the structure is have to plus V1, and it's an obligation. And now we have to take help of do verb to make it negative and yes no question. Has is singular, has is simple present and singular. So we take help of does. And its negative is she does not have to attend the meeting. And its question is, does she have to attend the meeting? Yeah, I think you have understood the ways of changing sentences into negative and yes no question. From these examples, we can say this: have to plus B1, and it means obligation, becomes do not plus have to plus B1 in negative, and in question, do plus subject plus have to plus B1. Dear students, now another sentence structure, that is type 15, and the statement is I need some help. And now need is auxiliary and need is auxiliary verb, but now here need is not the auxiliary. And when I use need plus object, and it shows the degree of necessity, and so it means and is the essential, very important. I need some help. It is essential for me. This means, and here need is main verb, and this is V1, and we use do verb to make this negative. So I do not need any help. And his question is, do I need any help? And now a need is used here in the meaning of essential or very important. Now a little bit different use of need again. That is general necessity or little necessary. And this is used as the modal auxiliary, not the main verb. And the statement is you need talk to him about it. Now here need plus V1 here. And this need is modal auxiliary. And we can use not next to it. Its negative is you need not talk to him about it. And you can guess his question statement. His yes no question is need you talk to him about it. From these examples, we can extract the sentence structures like this. Need plus V1 becomes need not plus V1 in negative, and need plus subject plus V1 in yes no question. Dear students, and the next use of need here can. And this time and need is used in the meaning of suggestions or obligation, that is to show what you should or what you have to do. And this is the statement. You need to go to the bank, and this is the obligation and is the suggestions. That is, and you have to do that. You have to go to the bank, it means. So you need to go to the bank. And now here again, this need is not the modal auxiliary and is not the auxiliary verb. And what is negative? And his negative is you do not need to go to the bank. And again, and we use the do verb to make this negative. And his questions is, and do you need to go to the bank? And now its structure is need to plus V1 obligation becomes do not plus need to plus V1 in negative. And in question, do plus subject plus need to plus V1 in yes no question. Dear students, now example type 16. Now here, and we talk about the use of ought to as the modal auxiliary. And here ought to means what is the right thing to do here. The example is children ought to be disciplined. And it is right to be disciplined. And what is negative? I've just told you that ought to is an auxiliary verb, and so we use not next to auxiliary verb. Children oughtn't to be disciplined. And is yes no question is ought children to be disciplined? Okay, let's take another similar example. I ought to write to say thank you. I ought to write to say thank you. And its negative is I oughtn't to write to say thank you. Now here ought to is an auxiliary verb. Ought to is a modal auxiliary, and so not is used next to ought. And its question is ought I to write to say thank you? And from these examples, so we can come to conclusion that ought to plus V1 as the modal auxiliary becomes ought not to plus V1 in negative, and in question, and ought plus subject plus 2 plus V1 in yes no question. Dear students, now example type 17. Let's go to the affirmative statement. That is, you'd better stay here. And now here we have a little bit different structure. You'd better stay here. Apostrophe D, better is here. What is negative? Let's say, you'd better not stay here. Not is used next to better. And its question is, had you better stay here? No. Apostrophe D, beta. Apostrophe D is the contractions of you had. Subject apostrophe D plus beta. It's an expression for making a strong suggestions to someone. And if one doesn't follow these suggestions, he or she will get a negative result. Now, the negative of apostrophe D plus beta plus V1 is apostrophe D beta plus not plus V1, and it becomes had plus subject plus beta plus V1 in question. Now, a little bit different example is here. The statement goes here, we'd rather go out at night. We'd rather go out at night, and its negative is we'd rather not go out at night. Now here, rather is used in the place of beta. And its question is, would we rather go out at night? And what is we apostrophe D means? We apostrophe D is a contraction of we would. Subject apostrophe D plus rather is an expression for making a soft or polite suggestions to someone about preferring one thing to another. If one does not follow the given suggestion, he or she will not bear a negative result like the expression had better means. So, and its structure is the negative of subject apostrophe D plus rather plus B1 is subject apostrophe D plus rather plus not plus B1. Not is added next to rather, and it becomes would plus subject plus rather plus B1 in question. The students, now the example start waiting. The statement goes like this. I used to live in London. And the sentence is a little bit different from the previous example. Now here we have used to. And used to plus V1. And used to is a modal auxiliary, but not used with used to. And this is in the past form, so did is used here. And its negative is I did not used to live in London. After the use of did verb, and the verb used is changing to V1. Its question is, did I used to live in London? The student used to plus V1 is to express past habits that are not usually done now. And used to plus V1 becomes did not plus used to plus V1 in negative, and did plus subject plus used to plus V1 in yes no question. Dear students, in the summary, we can develop the flowing table to study the above used sentence structures at a glance. Goes like this. Structure have is used as the main verb, and its negative is do not plus B1, and its yes no question is do plus subject plus have. Have to plus B1, that is obligation, and its negative is do not plus have to plus B1. And his question is do plus subject plus have to plus B1. Next, do, and it is used as the main verb, and its negative is do not plus do. And his question is do plus subject plus do. Need as the main verb, and its negative is do not plus need. And its yes no question is do plus subject plus need. Need plus verb, this is a modal auxiliary, and need not plus B1 in negative, and need plus subject plus B1. Need to plus B1, and its negative is do not plus need to plus B1, and its question is do plus subject plus need to plus B1. Ought to plus B1, this ought to is a modal auxiliary, and its negative is ought not to plus B1, and its question is ought subject to plus B1. Subject plus apostrophe D better plus B1, and its negative is subject apostrophe D plus better plus not plus B1, and its question is had plus subject plus better plus B1. Next structure, subject plus apostrophe D plus rather plus B1, and its negative is subject apostrophe D plus rather plus not plus V1, and yes no question is would plus subject plus rather plus V1. Used to plus V1, and its negative is did not plus used to plus V1. And its question is did plus subject plus used to plus V1. Dear students, these are all for today's class. Next time I will come to you with some remaining parts of today's class, transformation of sentences. Thank you very much for watching the class. Stay safe, namaste, and bye-bye.